there, my wedding planning friends, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I'm Emily Summer. I'm a wedding planner based in Montana, and I make weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. So today's video, I thought I would share about some of the biggest mistakes that I have seen couples make at weddings that I have either worked or attended, so that you hopefully won't make the same mistakes at your wedding. So number one was choosing to DIY their flowers, but doing it all the day of the wedding. So the bride thought that they could just get bulk flowers and then arrange them on the day. I think in her mind, she was just thinking, okay, you already have these flowers there. All I need to do is just take them out and put them into vases and arrangements, and that's not going to take very long. But the reality is, when you have bulk flowers, you still need to go through all those flowers and make sure that A, they are all usable and kind of process the flowers and make sure that they are, looking nice, and if any of the petals need to be removed or fixed. You also will 99% chance need to cut and trim the flowers to fit whatever vessel or vase that you're putting them in. And then you would go in and make each arrangement, which the arrangements alone always take longer than you think that they will. And so you want to make sure that you're giving yourself more than enough time to arrange these flowers if you are planning on DIYing any of your florals. So I don't think that DIYing your flowers when it comes to like bud vases, centerpieces, small arrangements like that was a mistake on her part for this wedding. It was waiting until the last minute. So if you're choosing to DIY any of your flowers, just do them at least the day before, if not a couple of days before, as far as actually making your arrangements, and then have them in a safe place where they can be stored until the wedding day. Number two was not hiring a bar catering company and kind of DIYing their bar, and not having a plan for setup and tear down of the bar. So again, not hiring the bar catering is not necessarily a big mistake. I always recommend having a bar catering. That way you don't have to worry about how much alcohol, like trying to calculate how much alcohol you're going to need yourself and how much ice you're going to need, as well as cups. All those things are taken care of and assisted through a bar catering service. However, if you do want to save money and if you do want to eliminate that vendor, you can self-purchase alcohol if your venue allows and choose to either have bartenders or no bartenders. I pretty much always recommend, even if you are self-purchasing your alcohol and not having a catered alcohol service, to still have at least one bartender, especially if you are serving any hard alcohol. In fact, if you are serving hard alcohol at all, 100% hire a bartender. This is just going to not only maximize how long your alcohol is going to last throughout the night, but it's also going to keep things at a reasonable level. People turn into menaces when they are given a free-for-all at weddings. Trust me, even if you don't think that your group will, something happens when there are no rules at a wedding and just free alcohol at their disposal that is kind of unlimited in their brains. So just keep that in mind. Always recommend hiring a bartender. If you are having just beer and wine, you can get away without having a bartender. But the problem here, and the mistake that I saw, was not having a plan for setting up the bar and tearing down the bar. So in your mind, yes, you can just have a bartender. You're purchasing all of the alcohol and it's going to be there, and you can have just a bartender serve, or just have it self-poured or self-served from your guests at your wedding day. But they didn't factor in the fact that all of that alcohol is going to still need to be set up in some serving form. So whether that is going to be in tubs with ice, in coolers, the keg being on ice, the keg being in a location that's going to be servable, if you are setting things onto a bar top of some kind, those things all need to be set up, and it's going to take time to do that, as well as getting everything iced to make sure that it's all chilled prior to your guests arriving and serving themselves. Not to mention, at the end of the night, when there's alcohol left over, that is going to have to go somewhere. So if you need everything packed out at the end of the night from your venue, you need to make sure that you have a plan for what to do with all that leftover alcohol. So if you do plan on DIYing any part of your alcohol, make sure that you have a plan for who is going to set up that bar. Number three, this was a wedding that I attended. I don't think I would ever let a client of mine do this. So they had just a phone plugged into a speaker for the entirety of their evening for their wedding music. Now, you can get away with this for something like cocktail hour or during your dinner if you have a playlist made. There are certain parts of the wedding that you can just kind of DIY your music and not necessarily require a full-on DJ. However, The problem that arises when you only have playlists on your phone is, one, you don't have an MC. You don't have somebody that is going to be getting your guests where they need to go and kind of announcing the next thing. So for this one, the first dance was happening, but there was no one to announce it. All of a sudden, the couple was just on the dance floor and their first dance was starting, and some people realized it was happening, but most didn't. Additionally, when you make a playlist, in theory, you're probably making a playlist that is chronological to what's going to be happening. So you have your cocktail hour playlist, your dinner time playlist, and then moving into your reception playlist, which those songs might all be great songs to have at some point during the duration of your wedding reception, but you don't have the flexibility to be able to pick and choose the songs that are matching whatever vibe there is, because you can try and plan as much as you want ahead of time, but you're really not going to know what the vibe is of your group, how they're feeling dancing wise, what time things are really going to kick off. And if you just have a kind of locked in playlist, that doesn't give you a lot of flexibility to be able to adjust to whatever is happening at the current time of your reception. Or the opposite problem is you have too much flexibility. So if you have just a phone that's in easy access that you are going in and changing songs if it's not fitting the vibe, your guests are going to be able to do the same thing. So this particular wedding, something similar happened where guests knew where the phone was, and so if they weren't feeling that song, they were just changing it or picking something new. And so it was rare that an entire song played all the way through before the next song changed, and then there was no way of really like pleasing everybody, and just had a very awkward vibe to it. So don't recommend this. If you do want to DIY any of your music, just do it for like a cocktail hour or dinner service. Highly recommend hiring a professional DJ for the duration of your wedding. Number 4 is not pre-planning the teardown of your wedding. So not planning out how you're going to get everything that you brought in for your wedding day back out at the end of the night, and ensuring that it goes somewhere safe and that everything is out of the venue, and not just relying on your friends or family or yourself at the end of the night. You need to make sure that you are having an actual plan in place and confirm this with whoever is going to be assisting you. I have seen weddings where they thought that their friends and family were going to just hop in and help. Once the wedding starts kind of underway and people are having a good time and they're dancing and they're drinking, people are going to lose track of time, and all of a sudden you have 20 minutes to get everything out of your venue. So make sure you have a solid plan, a list of items that need to leave the space, a list of items that are getting rented, that will either be packed up and dropped off at that rental company following the wedding, or that are going to be picked up by the rental company, and what are your personal belongings that are going to go with you at the end of the night, or into a vehicle at the end of the night, or with a friend or family member at the end of the night. Number 5 is not having a seating chart. So not necessarily a seating chart that requires every individual seat to be assigned, but at least have some kind of seating chart where your tables are assigned, guests are assigned to their tables. Every wedding that I've been to, when there isn't a seating chart, it is just pure chaos, and what happens is people don't know where to sit, or they wait too long to go in and find a seat, and then they're with their 2 friends, so there's a group of 3, and then they're trying to find a table that's vacant with 3 seats next to each other. And what happens then is usually there's already most of the tables are seated, and maybe there's 1 or 2 empty spots at these chairs, and then people are starting to bring chairs over to another table, and then they are missing a whole table setting because it was at another table. So it just gets very clustery, and definitely highly recommend having some sort of seating chart, even if that's just assigned tables and not necessarily individually assigned seats. Number 6, running out of water. This has happened only one time in my experience at a wedding that I attended, but it was enough for me to make sure that all my clients have a good water plan and make sure that there is no chance of their guests running out of water by the end of the night. This was a very hot summer day, so water was being consumed a lot throughout the entire duration of the wedding ceremony and reception, and so by the end of the night there was no more water. And this is not what you want to happen when all of your guests are kind of at their peak drinking level and there's no alcohol or there's no water to serve your guests at the end of the night. And finally, renting china or non-disposable table settings when you don't have a full service caterer. So full service caterer means staff that are going to be there to bus your tables and pack up any rentals or non-disposable items that you were using during dinner service. So I was once at a wedding where they had all rented table settings, china, flatware, glassware, everything looked really nice and great on the tables, but their caterer did not provide busing services. So then at the end of the dinner, everything was just on the table and people didn't know where to bring their plates. They were trying to like go bust them themselves, but there was nowhere to put it. And it was just very messy and required a whole lot of work for the couple at the end of the night. So if you're having non-disposable table settings, make sure that you're hiring a catering service that is going to assist you with packing up those items and clearing tables. Or if you don't have a catering service that is providing busing services, or if you don't want to pay the extra labor to have extra staff on site, just go the disposable route. They make a lot of great, real looking disposable and compostable place setting items these days. So that's just the route that I recommend if you don't have anyone that is going to be busing your tables. So those are the top 7 biggest mistakes that I have personally seen at weddings that I have either worked or attended. So hopefully you will not make the same ones. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to get weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. We'll see you next week.